Welcome back to a summary study of the Brhad Bhagavatamrta. We're in volume 2, chapter 3. In this chapter, it begins with Gopa-kumara being back in Vrindavan. He just left Brahmaloka. He came back to Vrindavan, just got some instructions on how bhakti is greater than mukti, liberation. But he has a desire to go to this Mahakalapur. And so therefore he was told to come back to Vrindavan first, and then he can go. Talking to his mature Brahmin, the disciple, in this chapter he'll go through the different coverings of the universe, one at a time. And then he'll meet Lord Siva, and he'll meet some of the associates of Lord Vishnu who travel and preach. Gopa-kumara, he begins speaking to his mature Brahmin. He says, when I came from Brahmaloka to this earth, I saw that nowhere was there even a hint of the way things had been before. And there he saw his guru again when he came back. He said he bathed, and then he taught me various rules for worshiping and meditating on the mantra he had given. Some of these instructions he spoke, and others he gave me through gestures. And then he said, because you are very dear to me, I have now given you everything I possess. By the power of this mantra, you will understand and attain everything on your own. So then Gopa-kumara felt great joy. He was greatly enthused by what his spiritual master had told him and instructed him. But then the spiritual master, he disappeared. But now he's going to leave this universe. And so he's given a special body, even though his form of the youth remains as a cowherd boy. He says, I then attained a body beyond the 5 material elements. And as I traveled upward, breaking through the sphere of the sun, I saw all the planetary systems. The planets I had earlier attained one by one over a long period of time, I now crossed by the blink of an eye, as if by the power of the mind. He gets through these different universes, he goes through one at a time, through all the different coverings of the universes. And each one of these universes has a predominating deity. And they're all filled with different forms of varieties of enjoyment and bliss. The earth is Vraha, water is Matsya, fire is Sura, air is Pradyumna, ether is Anurada, and ego is Sankarshan. Now he goes to the last, which is Prakriti, and that presiding deity is Mohini Murti. And so each one is more pleasurable than the other, but Gopa-kumara, by the power of his mantra, compels him to continue to go through each one. He says that each covering was the subtle cause of the one before it. And as a greater object of worship, a greater worshiper, and greater sense gratification, opulence, and importance. So he gets to the last covering, and he sees spread everywhere a color like that of my worshipful Lord. I was very much delighted, and I had no desire to go further. So he felt like, and again, for a moment, he had achieved the Lord of his mantra. So he says, after I arrived, the goddess Prakriti, had just finished the worship of her Lord. The Lord of that region, the effulgent Sri Mohini Murti, the goddess at once approached me, and in her own superlative form, she offered me gifts such as Anima Siddhi and other great yogic powers. And like the goddess Earth and the other deities, she asked me to stay. Gopa-kumara, as mentioned, he very much liked this last covering, but similarly, by the power of his mantra and the desire to reach the Lord of the mantra, he was able to compel himself to leave that place also. And then he starts to enter Mahakala Puri. With utmost bhakti, I struggled to look ahead, and then I saw the Lord, effulgent like a million suns. Because of that greed, even though I beheld the Supreme Lord right before me, I could not feel as if satisfied before. I was disturbed by the fear that I might merge into him and was likely to happen in that abode. There's obviously this big attraction pulling him to merge into the effulgence of the Lord. And so he starts thinking, wow, maybe it's better if I just go back to Vrindavan. It gets very dangerous, the risk. But because he has the Lord's mercy and the mercy of the Vaishnavas, he's able to compel himself to continue on. He says, when he was thinking this way, in a distance, thinking about going back to Vrindavan, he heard some music and some singing. As it got louder as it approached him. So he saw this group of individuals. He saw someone riding on the bull, and he saw someone sitting on the lap of the bull. And this person also had companions and associates all around him. And he noticed there was one who appeared to be the leader of this group. And so he approached that person, and he asked him in detail about who this person is on the bull. What is he doing? Where is he from? This leader was Nandishvara. And so he explained to Gopa-kumara who Lord Shiva was. He explained to him about Shiva Loka, where he comes. And he talks about how Lord Shiva, he travels around, he gives blessings, and he spreads bhakti of the Lord. Even after learning the excellence of Shiva Loka, he said, I felt exceedingly happy, yet my heart, I knew, was not full. So he was continually thinking that there's more, there's got to be more, even though he was happy in the current condition and situation he was in. Nandishvara assured me, nonetheless, by Shiva's mercy, your long-held desire will soon be fulfilled. My mind was thus appeased, and I was happy to stay for a moment by the side of Shiva, who for some reason chose to take rest before continuing on his journey. Then, about that time, some more individuals start approaching. He says, I suddenly saw a group of attractive four-armed persons arrived, adorned with all the opulences of youth, charm, beauty, and good fortune. Ganesh was there, one of Shiva's associates, and he explained to Gopa-kumara who these individuals were. He said that these are the associates of the ruler of Vaikuntha, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. They have attained bodily forms similar to his and have come here from Vaikuntha itself. They continue, these persons cherish only bhakti to the Lord. They travel as they please, spreading bhakti everywhere. They save the Lord's devotees from all fears, even at the time of death. If those devotees have but once had even the namabhas on the tip of their tongues or on the path leading into the ears, they will protect them. Similarly, all these little stories from Srimad Bhagavatam come out, bits and pieces here and there, as Parikshit Maharaj is speaking to his mother. So we know the story of Ajamil, how he was saved by the namabhas chanting of Narayan, this indirect chanting of the Lord. Then Gopa-kumara learned about Vaikuntha from these Vishnu Dutas. And Shiva spoke to him about entering Vaikuntha. Shiva said to him, but that world is exceedingly difficult to attain. Indeed, even liberated souls pray to achieve it. Brahma's sons and Brahma himself strive for it. And so even do I. Lord Shiva tells them one way that people can enter Vaikuntha. It's a very difficult path. He says that if a Brahmin who is expert in his ritualistic duties, for 100 births, he can achieve the form of Brahma and the post of Brahma. And if one in the post of Brahma achieves that position, that post perfectly 100 times, he can even have the position of Lord Shiva. And if he performs the duties of Lord Shiva perfectly for 100 births, then he can enter into Vaikuntha. He tells him, you should reject this impersonal abode as an obstacle to your progress. So now the Vishnu Dutas want to give him some information about who his guru is. They tell him that he was born in the country of Gauda, on the banks of the Ganga, and was a first-class Mathura Brahmin, and his name was Jayanta. He is an incarnation of Krishna, and that he is your guru. So now here's Gopa-kumara realizes that the Lord himself has become his spiritual master and has helped him on this process of bhakti yoga. And it has given him his mantra, the 10-syllable Gopal mantra. Now he'll find out a little bit more later when he goes to Vaikuntha. Mahavishnu will also talk a little bit about this relationship between him and his guru. They say, accept as true that we have come here only for your sake, and please hear what is beneficial for you to do. If you want to reach Vaikuntha, then give up everything and perform the 9 processes of devotional service. Shiva explains that bhakti is the highest form of devotional practice. By Lord Krishna's mercy, his devotees happily realize this bhakti in many varieties. It reveals itself to them in their hearts, which are free from gunas and immersed in eternity, knowledge, and bliss. When by spiritual discrimination a devotee comes completely pure in heart and attains the abode of the Lord, he realizes the wonderful varieties of bhakti. Now, Lord Shiva's associates at this point are trying to encourage him, if you want to go to Vaikuntha, first you should go back to Vrindavan, to Vrajabhumi. He just actually left there. This would be his 3rd trip, and this seems to be a little bit of a pattern in this whole story of Gopa-kumara, that he, as he travels at intervals, he comes back to Vrindavan. And this is a good lesson for us, and we know that if you go and visit Vrindavan, and whatever devotional practice one performs, it accelerates the process, and it's magnified thousands of times, whatever bhakti that one practices there. So they give him that he should go back to Brhad. And that place can best award the fulfillment of all your ambitions. They said, simply practice pure bhakti, mainly in the form of Nam Sankirtan, with the hope of gaining the eternal contact of the Lord's divine lotus feet. So now they're telling him, not just your japa, but this Nam Sankirtan, this singing and chanting of the Lord's holy name. This is similarly what he noticed in the Mathura Brahmin, that he needed to adjust in his devotional practice. It's not that his japa, which he was doing effectively, but that he also should add the chanting Harinam Sankirtan, which is even higher form of practice, devotional practice. Say something about smarnam, which he learned from Pipyanamana. He said it was of all the processes of devotional service, that remembering the best. They say that because they were engaged on Tapaloka in meditation. So they tell Gopa-kumara, some think that smarnam, rather than kirtan, is the essential means of bhakti. But we consider kirtan alone to be the most excellent form of bhakti, better than smarnam, which appears only in one's own turbulent heart. For kirtan harnesses not only the faculty of speech, which it engages directly, but also the mind and the sense of hearing. And kirtan helps not only the person practicing it, but also those who hear it. Continuing, they say, appearing mainly in the sense of speech, the Lord's name gives pleasure to the chanter and to others. So even greater than meditation on the Lord is Nam Sankirtan. So now Gopa-kumara, he says to the Mathura Brahmin, upon drinking this invigorating tonic for the ears and the heart, I was filled with delight. I bow down to the messengers of Vaikuntha and to Shiva and to his wife, and by their grace I was swept once to this Rajabhumi. Ho, how my mind was stunned. So that ends this third chapter. The next chapter 4, Gopa-kumara will meet Mahavishnu. He'll have an interaction with these Vishnu duties who will carry him through Vaikuntha and then also bring him to the Supreme Lord there in Vaikuntha. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you come back for the last chapter in volume 2 of the Brhad Bhagavatamrta. Hare Krishna.